Fat bald man, rolling and climbing out of the factory gate, sat down on the grass, and he was shaking, and he was holding on. Only one side of the eye is left with lenses. I turned around and took a deep look at my body. The dark factory corridor behind. Pick up the phone in shock. Secretary Liu, help me book the earliest flight back to my hometown tomorrow, right? Don't worry about the rest. Make sure to say, just got off the phone. He suddenly widened his eyes in horror. Generate shouting who you are. Morning light. The town is shrouded in faint weapons. The courtier bit a piece of cake in his mouth. The rat dog dangled from his shoulder, running hurriedly to school. I overslept again today. Be really late. I have to stay again next week. Run to the crossroads in the east of the town. He stopped abruptly, looking at the rusty iron gate next to it. This is an abandoned compound, the busiest factory in town. I don't know why a few years ago, the boss ran away. Workers disperse. The factory is also gradually being abandoned. But there is one good thing about this compound. If you can get through here, save half the journey. The minister hesitated for a moment. Be vigilant and look around. After confirming that no one is paying attention here, lean in, picked open the big rusted iron lock. He nudged it. The iron door screeched. The minister is almost out of the way. In the factory compound, the concrete floor is cracked underfoot. The wind blows, with the sound of waste paper and breaking. Time seems to stand still here. Rusty iron fence, a mottled wall, a collapsed roof. Everywhere revealed a decadent atmosphere. Chen Zi steps on dead leaves, walk along a path covered in weeds. Suddenly, his eyes flashed into the factory building on the left. There's something in the window. He stopped abruptly. Look around. A familiar figure stood in the window, staring at him frozen. It's Xiao Feng, his good friend, Xiao Feng. Xiao Feng is standing inside the window, pale face, hollow eyes, hands at your side, like a soulless tomb. His lips are slightly parted, seems to want to say something, but no sound was made. Chen Zi frowned. He shouted tentatively. No response. Xiao Feng's expression remained motionless, only those eyes, with Chen Zi's footsteps turning slightly. Keep staring at him. A chill rose from Chen Zi's back. He swallowed. Bite the bullet and take another step forward. I want to see more clearly. However, Xiao Feng's figure suddenly flickered, disappeared into the shadows behind the window. As if by some invisible force, it was yanked away. Chen Zidao took a breath of cold air. A strong sense of unease washes over my heart. He didn't have the courage to stay any longer, running to school. But all day, Chen Zi didn't see Xiao at school. Peak figure. The next morning, Chen Zi just left the house. I saw a few police cars parked by the street. Neighbors gather around and whisper. Poor, why did this child disappear? Last night, Xiao Feng's parents found out that he had not come home. Searched all night, still can't find it. Tatsuzawa was stunned, immediately opinion, and he ran home. I told my father that I saw Xiao Feng in the factory building yesterday. Dad's face changed. He quickly dragged him to the police. But the police repeatedly searched the abandoned factory compound. Still nothing. No footprints, no signs of a fight, no clue. Child, did you read it wrong? The police asked helplessly. Dad's face is clear. Repeatedly apologized to the police. He gave Chen Zi a hard look. Blame me for what I usually tell you. Don't go to that wicked place to play. What nonsense are you talking about? The minister bit his lip and thought to defend, but in the face of my father's anger, he kept his head down. The disappearance of Shah caused quite a stir in town. Some say he was abducted by human traffickers. Some say he ran away from home on his own. And there's whispers said that the abandoned factory building was not clean. The boss ran away because of this. But anyway, every time the courtiers passed by the abandoned factory building, I always feel inexplicable panic in my heart. But he didn't want to take a detour. So every time I pass by that window, I'll quicken their pace. Don't even dare to take a second look. He always feels there seems to be a pair of eyes in the window, staring at him. A few days later at dusk, Chenzi is carrying a school bag, walking briskly on the path of the abandoned factory compound. He tried not to look at the window. However, this time, his eyes still flicker into the window. What's there? A familiar figure was standing in the window. Look at him quietly. Chenzi's footsteps suddenly stopped. The heart feels like it's being held. That's the neighbor's brother Jabal. He was pale, hollow eyes, standing stiffly behind the window. The posture is exactly the same as shelving a few days ago. Chenzi's breathing became rapid. He fought back his fear. Shout, Garbo, what were you doing there? Garbo behind the window doesn't respond, like I didn't hear him at all. Those empty eyes stared at him. Garbo, what are you playing? Go home quickly. Chenzi bumped into the man and shouted again. However, the same as last time. Just as he took a step, Garbo's figure suddenly disappeared. It's like it never existed. Chenzi's blood seemed to freeze in an instant. He just stood there, lips trembled slightly. A layer of cold sweat oozed from his forehead. He turned and ran, desperately rushed home. I don't even have the courage to look back. The next morning, just at dawn, Chenzi was awakened by a commotion outside. He subconsciously rolled over and sat up, looking out the window. Downstairs on the street, the red and blue lights of the police car kept flashing. The police are standing together in groups of 3 or 5, whispering something. Don't ask. The courtiers have already guessed what happened. Domestic violence is missing. His legs are weak. The shiny gun ran out of the room, lying at the door, listening quietly to the conversation between Dad and the neighbors. Garbo's mother waited for him to come home last night. No one was seen until the early morning. Then he went to the police. Could it have been abducted by human traffickers? Or did you sneak out to play by yourself? This is the second child missing. How can our town be one after another? This happens. Chenzi's heart was beating wildly. He bit his lip. The nails were deeply pinched into the palm of his hand. He knows very well. Domestic violence is not lost. It wasn't kidnapped by human traffickers. He was taken by that window. But this time, ministers, I didn't tell anyone what I saw anymore. He was afraid of his father's scolding, more afraid of the suspicion of the police. And here's the thing. He dared not touch that factory building again. He thought he just had to avoid that road. We can forget about this, but the nightmare is far from being explained. When he took a seat at school, when picking out his heart sank suddenly. His student ID is missing. He rummaged through every corner of his bag, but I can't find it anywhere. His face gradually turned pale. The fingers trembled uncontrollably. He suddenly remembered. Last night after school. Student ID still in pocket. Did it fall there? Think of this. His breathing began to quicken. The heart is beating like crazy. Evening. The sky was dyed a strange dark red by the setting sun. Chenzi stands in front of the iron gate of Wang Courtyard, palms full of cold sweat. He took a deep breath. Try to calm yourself down. Just looking for a student ID. I'll be leaving soon. He gritted his teeth. Push open the rusty iron door. Slowly walked into the dilapidated courtyard that gradually swallowed the twilight, dead air. The smell of delicious and metallic rust stone. The dilapidated factory building casts a trail in the setting sun. Dark shadow. Chenzi trotted through the overgrown deer, eyes fixed on the ground. I dare not look up at that window, but out of the corner of his eye, he still saw. Another person appeared in the window, and he was holding fast. The cold sweat on the back instantly soaked the school uniform. He raised his head stiffly. Just that window. This time, the person in the window turned out to be himself. It's not his shadow, reflected on the glass, but another him. Pale face, hollow eyes, like a trick without a soul, staring at him coldly. Chenzi's throat seemed to be blocked by something. He wanted to talk, can't make a sound. Finally, his voice struggled to squeeze out of his throat. I don't see my own voice. Who are you? Chenzi in the window did not answer. His lips trembled slightly, as if to say something, but no sound was made. His eyes were deep and desperate. It's like being trapped in some kind of invisible cage, a bone-piercing meaning. He climbed up along Chenzi's back. He almost collapsed and turned to run away, but I suddenly flickered in the window. Gone. In an instant, darkness swallowed everything. That creepy face just silently evaporated from his eyes. Shinazawa is staring at the window. Violent heaving of the chest. My legs were shaking. If I don't figure out the truth, I will definitely disappear like Xiaofeng and Jabo. Finally, Chenzi trembled, reached out and pushed open the battered factory door. He, at this moment, a bloodless face, already tortured by fear, hollow eyes. The air inside the door is unusually cold, with the smell of decay. The light in the factory building is dim. The walls are worn out and mottled with damp marks. A thin layer of dust floats in the air. Minister, she peered into the window in the corridor in the distance. No one at the window, thick dust on the ground. It seems to have been accumulated for years, but there are no footprints on the ground in front of the window, as if no one had ever stood there. His heart was beating wildly, slowly walking towards that window. The tripod suddenly made a crisp sound, extremely harsh, in a dead factory building. Scared Chenzi. He looked up. I saw that it was an unknown person. Glasses dropped here, stomped on by himself. He didn't care. Take a deep breath. Raising his hand, trembling, he floated up to the window frame in front of him. Fingertips touch cold glass, made him shout out. However, at that moment, the light outside the window suddenly flickered. Then he looked through the window. I saw a scene that made him feel cold all over. On the overgrown path outside the window, another Chenzi is standing there, wide-eyed, staring at him in horror. The expression on his face is an unconcealed fear. They looked at each other through the window. Jonesy's head went blank, breathing almost stopped. Trembling slightly, it seems to be desperately searching for language. And then, Chenzi finally spoke when he heard himself outside the window. The voice trembled and almost broke. Who are you? The next morning, town. People on board found the iron door of the factory building wide open. Several police cars were parked at the door. Sirens pierced the morning silence. Several police officers came in and out, dignified face. People stand in the distance and stare, whispering, they know. Another child is missing. This is already the third in town for no reason. The missing child, to find out the truth. The police went through the files on the factory building. Chen Juan found the phone number of Boss Lee of the factory that year. However, the other end of the phone is not Boss Lee. Are you mistaken? My dad has long been missing. Never been home all these years.